again, thank you so much for coming. We're gonna learn something about Web3. After the speech, we're gonna be open for questions. So anybody who's interested, say whatever you wanna say, ask difficult questions. We are recording everything. And thank you so much for coming again. All right.
Okay, round of applause for Skidrow Crypto. Micah, it's so good to have you here.
Thank you.
I'm so honored because I first found out about you when I saw you speak at NFTLA last year, when it was still called NFTLA. So it feels like a real honor to now be interviewing you. And I really enjoyed hearing about your journey and how you even got this name, Skidrow Crypto. So how about we give the good people a little bit of a background on you and where that name originated from?
Okay. First, I just want to shout out Web3 Wednesdays. It's amazing what's happening in LA.
Thank you.
Crypto Mondays, NF Tuesdays, Web3 Wednesdays, IRL Thursdays, Crypto Fridays, like every day of the week, there's something happening. This is a really awesome place to be. It's like crypto native town. So it's really hard to do this and keep it up every week. I know it's exhausting and it's a lot of hard work. And to keep a community going for an extended period of time is a big deal. So I want to thank everybody that puts this on. It really helps our community grow.
Yes, round of applause.
Thank you.
But as far as the name, I came into crypto first before NFTs, and it was late 2020, and the pandemic was going, and I had just recovered from 2 cancer surgeries that pretty much depleted all of my money. So I was pretty much broke, and I was too proud to crash on a couch or anything. And, you know, I'd been born an orphan anyway, so I didn't have a lot of blood family or anything, you know. And so I did what I see a lot of people doing in LA. I got a tent, and I was in a tent on Skid Row. And if anyone's been to Skid Row, you kind of know what that's about. It's quite a place to live. It's a high concentration of unhoused people. And at the same time, the reason why it's that way is because all the services are down there. So they keep everybody in this concentrated area of LA where you can get free meals and, you know, all your social services and everything are there. So it's very easy to get what you need, but at the same time, you know, it's a pretty crazy environment. But I was in the tent and I was listening on Clubhouse, hearing about crypto, hearing about DeFi. There's early people that I don't even see them around anymore that I learned so much from. And I just began to dollar cost average. So as I was trying to build myself back up, I was, instead of saving and doing things with dollars, I would just put everything that I could spare into crypto. So as crypto was rising, I was able to get out of my situation. And Skidrow Crypto, I kept because, you know, I got in the space and I saw how everyone has a name and they're defined either by, you know, a username they've created or like a pseudonym. And I felt it had a ring to it. But I also felt that it was kind of a statement about like what financial, you know, decentralized finance can do for you. And so I wanted to keep that and kind of always remember, you know, kind of how everything began.
Yeah, that's such a powerful story. So how did you end up from, you know, living on Skid Row and learning about Web3 through Clubhouse and Twitter, like many of us did, to then speaking at NFTLA? How did that part happen?
Man, so who's been around since 2021 or whatever? Okay, good. A good number of people. So you guys remember, I think I was talking to John of Tezos about this earlier. At that time, the community was not splintered off into micro communities. Twitter was way more effective to reach the community. And we had Clubhouse. And hundreds, thousands of people would be in Clubhouse rooms. And all the opportunity was in those rooms. I mean, you could literally talk to CEOs of companies that you could never get on the phone or by email. They'd never answer you. There they are sitting in Clubhouse for hours at a time, just chatting it up with you. So if you were smart about it and you knew what you needed to do, what you were trying to do, whatever intent or ambition you had, then you would network, you know, your way to that. And so I remember was maybe February 2021. The first DAO-run media news organization was formed. It's called NFTSWTF. They're not around anymore, actually. Well, the site's there, but they're not operating. A lot of crazy stuff happens with DAOs, as you know. But in the beginning...
Yes, I do know. I used to work for one, then they stopped paying me.
Pretty crazy, yeah. They were looking for writers. So they're like, hey, we're going to start this media org. We need writers. And, they really set it up like... it was more projects that needed exposure. There really were no journalists writing about artists and NFTs and everything. Most people in crypto journalism were talking about coins up and down and, was the market going to crash or whatever. And so they hired 20 writers. I was one of the first ones. And that's really when I came up with the name. And I began writing. And some of the first articles were really big. And again, it goes back to the way the community was at that time. When you did something, everyone could kind of see it. It was just a perfect storm, So I remember writing about Gary Vee's drop, V Friends. I wrote about the crypto pills. If anybody remembers them, they sold out 10,000 NFTs in like 11 minutes. And they were really happy about that because Misha Klein, the artist, was not... in Web3, he really wasn't in the community, and the article really served to put that project on the map. They sold out really quick, and I got nominated for Best Written Coverage of NFTs about maybe 2 months later. Excuse me. At NFT NYC, and that was actually off the article about Nate Chastain at OpenSea, who was charged with wash trading. Because I was in the clubhouse so much, I knew all the degens that exposed that scandal. So I basically got them all in a clubhouse room, got the story, wrote the article. Bloomberg had published at the time a couple of other publications, but nobody knew how. And my story was the only one that really broke down everything from start to finish and how they traced the wallets all the way back to the CryptoPunk, which of course is the one thing that probably identifies there's nobody owning punks and apes that don't want you to kind of know who they are. So in this case, his CryptoPunk was his profile pic on LinkedIn. So when they found that wallet and traced everything to that wallet and found the CryptoPunk, that's how he was caught.
It's a modern Web3 mystery. I love that. And shout out to Clubhouse. I know Bobby and I and quite a few other people here learn a lot about Web3 through Clubhouse, and I love that's how you got to the bottom of that story. That's incredible. Yeah,
Clubhouse, not as big anymore.
No. We looked on it today. It was, very scarce what was there. So you wanted to talk a little bit more about the relationship between NFT artists, founders, and the media and journalists. Do you want to expound upon that a little bit more?
Yeah, artists out there and anybody that's really trying to launch projects or, change the world, maybe solve a problem, whatever, we're all fighting the same problem of attention. And, I mentioned Twitter earlier, it's getting less and less effective. And besides that, we're watching micro communities, Telegram groups, Discords, newsletters. It's all very splintered off. And we really are facing a moment where we're either going to mature as an industry and we're going to start really telling, good stories. We're going to have more mature reporting, or we're going to keep talking about coins up and down and Pepe and all that's great. But there's a culture here that's burgeoning, and we're just not paying enough attention to it. Like, we need the Rolling Stone of crypto. We need the Vanity Fair of crypto to dive deeper, to talk about lifestyle and culture, the challenges we're facing, solutions that are coming, and bring more attention to projects that can't necessarily afford the fanfare, to pay an influencer, to bring somebody important on, to get that kind of groundswell that you need. There's a lot more happening that just doesn't have the gravitas behind it that it needs, and I really want to serve that purpose. And so I've gotten involved with the dailydegen.io, and that right now is a curating platform that is bringing in the best articles of Web3 into one place. So you'll see a bunch of articles by a bunch of different writers, and I'm coming aboard as a managing editor, and we're going to now start telling these stories that need to be told. at no cost to the subject, which is a strange thing in Web3 because nobody wants ads anymore. So if you don't want ads, how do you pay for something, you know? So if I need coverage, what do? You go to some of these publications, they're going to tell you how much it's going to cost you to be written about, you know? Or if you're not famous enough, or, you know, you're not an influencer, you don't have that kind of leverage, they don't care. And so, you know, how are the stories going to get told where people are really going to learn what's happening in the space and grow with the community and actually elevate people that deserve it?
So with the Daily Degen, how are they existing without paid ads or paid articles? What is their business model?
It's growing. So I can't say a lot because the founder is quite, she doesn't like a lot of focus and attention on her per se. She has a lot going on. And so I partnered with her in a way that this platform that she's built, which is amazing, great news coming through, great traffic coming through. It's attached to a podcast, which is GM Good Morning Degens, GM Degens. You probably heard of it. And so it was sort of functioning as just a home for news, you know, without there was some original content. A few writers were writing, but it wasn't formalized. And so coming aboard and helping to form like a writer's room, reaching out to people in the community that might have, maybe you just want to write a think piece about something. Maybe you want to write a confession. Maybe you want to out somebody. I want to open it up for guest writers, even if you're not a writer on a regular basis. Maybe you have something that you want to publish. So I'll be encouraging writers to write. I'll be encouraging people in the community to also publish. We're also going to publish press releases, which is really important. Our space really doesn't have that. So we have press releases generally in all other industries, right? And those press releases go to journalists, and journalists write stories, right? But in Web3, I get press releases all the time, and they're desperate to get covered, but what if we had a place where they could publish them? Now, you still have to do your own research, because I imagine in that scenario, people will publish press releases on projects that might turn out to be a rug pull or whatever. So we're going to have to be really careful about qualifying them. But we want it to be more of a DIY type of a space where you can actually submit a press release or some type of a story. It can be sort of considered, reviewed, maybe fact-checked a bit, but not too heavy like that. It's more of, does it fit the platform or not? And then giving the community an opportunity to put things out where people can find it.
Yeah, I love that it's community built and that you guys are fact checking, because I think that's important in this space. The only other place I know to go for NFT news is NFT Now. And
yeah, they're great, by the way.
Yeah, and they're starting this model where they now are having their NFT passes to access exclusive content, so they don't have the paid ads. So I do like that. But yeah, you're right. There's really not that many news sources except for all of these different newsletters we're getting. But there's not one home except for NFT Now that I know of. Yeah,
and we're going to do more multimedia. I really like what's going on here, and I'm really thinking about joining here because it will give me hours for podcasting and interviewing. So yesterday, I don't know if you know the artist Ali Sabit.
Yes, we had him speak at the Outer Edge party that we threw.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So I was in Orange County, and I went to his house. We did a in-person videotaped interview. I brought a crew, and on location is great, but I'm thinking if this is going to be a regular thing, then I kind of need a home to bring people to produce those, and I'm thinking this might be it.
Yes, go Nova 3. Yeah, I shoot a podcast here. I know the Futrell brothers do. So that's something that I want to put that there to any members as well, or prospective members. We have a couple great podcast rooms that you can tape in here. So yeah, would love to be your home for that. So you said that when we were talking, there's a general lack of appreciation for thought leaders in the space. What did you mean by that?
I think the term influencer has gotten, muddy. It's not always how many. Sometimes it's who. And the who part is getting confused here, because if someone has a lot of followers, or if they happen to gotten lucky and got a PFP, it doesn't necessarily mean they know what they're talking about. And I think our space is really getting confused with that. And that's why a lot of people are being led astray. And so to really identify the term thought leaders, I don't know. It's I don't know what is it really, but it's really about people that have the right mindset about the tenets and ethos of the blockchain, why we're here, emphasizing like decentralization, permissionless, open source, zero knowledge proof. We really need to like drive home these values and make sure that the community continues to support that stuff. And so I think that thought leaders that focus on those things, those are the people that need to be elevated. And that's kind of also part of what I want to do, just to kind of help to frame where people should look, where sources are of information, reliable people, where what they say you can actually, you understand that they're coming from an informed place. I think a lot of what happens on Twitter is, it's great and it's really fun and everything, but it's really impulsive. It's really, it's lovely at the same time. It's like a perfect, terrible thing. I can't even explain it.
Reminds me of LA.
Yeah. So to have places where you can kind of look to for the right information coming from the right people, I think is going to be more and more important, including why newsletters are taking off now, So
how do you choose the stories and the projects that you want to cover?
That's a really good question. And I want to start by just putting it out there that there is not a single DM that I don't reply to. So if anybody has a story, I don't care what platform it is, I respond to everything. I follow over 10,000 people on Twitter for a reason, because I'm trying to have my finger on the pulse, my ear to the street. And so I really don't judge a story by, who's behind it, who's on the project. I'm really looking for really cool, interesting things, people doing something different, someone solving a problem, and also the journey. The journey is really important. Like when I met with Sabit yesterday, it was about his art, but it was more about the life of someone who was an artist previous, found NFTs, made millions of dollars in 2021. This guy bought, if you saw his house in Orange County, unreal. And he's very blessed for this. And at the same time, there's a reality because, more money, more problems. And so it's really, about settling into this industry that we're in, because it is a lifestyle as well. And it's a culture. We have people that actually don't live anywhere anymore. They literally are jet setting from conference to conference, event to event, country to country. And crypto is doing that. And so this crypto native lifestyle, I'm really, really interested in. And so I'm going to be covering that as well.
Yeah, Sabet is definitely one to watch. He's an incredible person and artist, and he's really building this empire. I remember at NFT NYC last year at a panel that he was speaking at, he said that he wanted to build the Disney of Web3.
Yes.
So I can see him being the man that does that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of negative media on crypto and Web3. On the TV, mainstream media, we see a lot of it. So do you feel a responsibility to shed a certain light on Web3 when you're covering it, or do you want to stay completely objective?
Yeah, that's a good question too. I think the tone, there's so much negative tone right now that we need to counterbalance it. And so I'm really not, if I'm going to go after somebody, if something has been done wrong and the community needs to understand that, that's a different thing. But I think in general, the tone is going to be always positive, championing the space and educating and informing at the same time, reporting. There are people that, even LinkedIn, I have a newsletter there, and I know that most of those readers are not really in Web3. They're just looking on the outside in, poking around. And so when they read a story, about like Brain Pasta, which I did last year.
I love him.
Yeah.
I have a hand-drawn piece of him. That'd be weird. I have a piece of him framed in my house.
He's amazing.
I have a piece of art that he did at a Friendsgiving last year. So it's very near and dear to me.
Yeah. So I feel like that window for those people should not be all fear. And it shouldn't be, oh man, I'm late, or wow, I got to buy this coin this week. Like they need to ease in, because, everyone talks about onboarding, but the reality is no one can be drag kicking and screaming, right? So people have to actually they have to have a genuine interest that has to get fed. And from that, they're taking each step, to the wallet, to a first NFT, to whatever. And so for those people, they need to creep. And so I want to be a place where they can read stories and kind of feel what's going on and kind of get a sense of who's all here. And then that way they'll feel more comfortable and join the community. And to me, that's sort of my way of onboarding.
Wonderful. So what's the next article or project that you're working on personally that you'd love to highlight?
Ali Sabet will be out in about maybe a week. So first I'm going to talk about the format really quick. I've been talking about like the Rolling Stone of this and that and the, Vanity Fair or whatever. So these are like docu-stories. You're going to have an article much longer than these like really short blurbs we've been getting in crypto. So it's going to be far more in-depth written, but then you can hit videos through the article. It's not going to be the video of what you're reading. It'll be even more content, the in-person stuff and deeper talks. And then there's photography because I'm a photographer. So I'm really creating like mixed media articles that are more rich with content. And so Ali Sabet's coming. I'm talking to Krista Kim tomorrow. Let me see, who else? Spotty Wi-Fi, which, hey, you guys wait for that Spotty Wi-Fi. Wait for that Spotty Wi-Fi because this kid likes to stir things up. He likes to be controversial.
Yeah, I've seen his spicy tweets. He calls people out. He actually, so we also had him perform. He was so great. He performed for us at the Outer Edge party. And then I saw him posting about NFT NYC and how somebody there had used his name and likeness. And so he was posting about like, he's not going to perform at NFT NYC anymore. Yeah, and he kind of boycotted it because somebody, I guess, was using his persona to sell something.
Wow.
So I don't know. That's
I didn't even know
just
that.
what I saw in his tweets. So
Okay.
He's very outspoken.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that one because we're gonna kick some stuff up. I know he's gonna give me great,
He's gonna bring that alpha and definitely spill the tea.
Yeah, and we got to make things fun. We have to make journalism fun. Like I don't think how many of you guys are actually reading articles? Okay. I get the impression that a lot of us are not necessarily reading. And maybe I have a wrong impression, but I want to make it funner. And even if you don't read, maybe you're going to visit the article and you're going to click the videos and you're going to listen to whoever I'm, covering and get it from them, Yeah,
it's great that you offer video as well. And I've even seen some articles now you can hit play and I guess an AI or bot or whatever will actually read out the whole articles, so you can listen
right,
to
like
it.
Medium does it, I believe.
Yeah, so I think that's a cool feature too for people that maybe aren't able to read in that moment. They might be driving, they just want to hear like an audiobook almost.
Yeah, and then being coming here and maybe producing here means like NPR. When you visit an NPR link, you can read the article or you can hit play and listen. And so if it's a transcript and you have a choice, then it's more of a recorded podcast or something.
Oh, I'm so excited. So we're going to get into some Q&A shortly, but where can people find this new project that you're working on, this interview series, and where can people follow you? I'm
Skidrow Crypto on pretty much every platform, so that's pretty easy. But where I'm going to be reporting is the Daily Degen. So thedailydegen.io. And if you visit it now, you'll see it's quite full of news. And my section is not launched yet. It will launch with Ali Sabet. Have you heard of Creatress? She's a VR performer. Yeah. So I interviewed her the other day. I'm really kind of reaching back to people who have exemplified staying power in our space. Thinking back to 2021 when NFTs really took off, when the boom really happened, who's still here? Who's still here doing what they were doing then? And how have they evolved to now? And like, how have they evolved what they're doing? And I think that's stuff that everyone can learn from. So I'm kind of starting there. And through that, I'm going to weave in some other stories. And I'm always open to any stories and writers as well. What I'm going to be looking to do is probably get sponsors to sponsor either a series of articles or specific articles, or even the section. So maybe you're an advertiser and now you know that your brand is not going to be next to a rug pull. So now you're more confident to do advertising. So now when Ali Sabit's article's there, you know, maybe your article is right there. So I'm literally going to sell advertising directly into that content. And I'm not really concerned about the ads being there, provided they're Web3 ads and they're not like projects that, you know, are going to take people's money. So there's going to be a little bit of vetting there too. It's so hard, man. Like even when I was writing, doing copywriting and ghostwriting, like I had to turn a lot of money down. You know, you hear from people, they want you to write things. You start poking into it, you start talking to them, and you get that feeling. And, you know, sometimes you don't get the feeling, but a lot of times you do if you really pay attention. And I don't know what's going to happen with this, but there are a lot of people in our space that it's like Hollywood or anywhere else. When there's a lot of money and a lot of, you know, fame to be had, it can draw some of the most, you know, predatory people. And that's what we're facing. So it's going to be tough to work the whole ad part in, but I'm creating somewhat of a wish list where these particular brands and projects I know are trusted and can be relied upon and they're respected in the community. And we'll probably start there and then maybe like kind of, you know, slowly branch out.
Yeah, and I think if it's, you know, resources and products that people in Web3 would need anyway, you know, you're almost like, you know, vetting the products that we would have to Google search anyway. And then
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then we can see that what's listed there on the site is something we'd be interested in and it's good product anyway. So it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I would love to open it up to any questions. Round of applause for Skidrow Crypto first. And then if you have a question.
Yeah, just following on. Great to meet you, by the way. Probably about the mic. The thing that kept coming up to me was the rug pulls and stuff like that. Like, how do you plan to validate things? How do you actually plan to go about proofreading things and making sure that you're not, or at least trying to make sure that you're not working with a rug pull or something like that? Like, is there going to be people that help you out with that and verify things and test protocols and do stuff like that? Or, you know, how do you plan to get around that?
It's a great question, and I think you nailed it. It'll be a team of people. I'm going to need to know. I'm going to need to bring in a couple of devs that know how to dig into things. People that know a little bit about like wallet forensics and things like that. I mean, I'm going to need to assemble this anyway in order to do investigative stories. So the very same people, it's kind of going back to the advertising again, because I don't want anyone to work for free. You know, if I came from a tent, why would I be talking people into doing anything for free? So in the beginning, you know, it's going to be all my sweat equity, and I'm going to be really bringing these advertisers to the table. And now I can say to a dev or, you know, someone in the space, hey, I'd like you to chase this down, or I'd like you to look into this more, or this is what I think is going on here. What do you think is going on? And really find some way to incentivize people to be involved. And the only way to do that is with revenue. So.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? Bobby Del Rio, fellow journalist here.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, what's up?
Also, I noticed you were following me on Twitter. I was like, what? Dude. So first of all, like, you're so articulate, which I really appreciated, because I've noticed that there's a disconnect between like the mainstream media. And for my job, like I host a TV show, right? It's like I watch Bloomberg, Yahoo Finance. I watch all of them, and I don't want to trash any of them. I think maybe they do their best, maybe, but you see such irresponsible coverage of the Web3 space, every aspect, right? Where like literally I was at a party a week ago, and then somebody's like, "Oh, did you see the new John Oliver episode?" And the guy's highlighting like FTX and Terra, and I'm like, what the fuck, man? That was like 6 to 12 months old, and they released the episode a week ago. But it gets so many eyeballs. So like I'm getting criticism from people trashing crypto because they watched John Oliver. So what I guess my question is, why is there this disconnect? Because it's not really that hard to know what's going on if you put the time in. But these people with the big platforms they're saying terrible things. They're like destroying the space. It seems like an attempt to actually push it underground. What do you think? I just want your thoughts on that.
I just think I don't want to get too deep into my first experience with the DAO Run News Org, other than to say the motivation wasn't in the right place. So you have people doing things in the space for not the right reasons, and so just because you have a news platform or you're putting out stories, it doesn't mean that you really care. Like a lot of these people are really, it's a numbers game, and they're creating funnels to sell you things or sell their audience to someone else. And I've been frustrated about that. The past 6 months to a year-ish, I've been doing the ghostwriting and copywriting. I was ghostwriting for a certain influencer with over 1 million followers. This particular influencer does not have any original thought. It reached a point where they were asking me, first they were saying, hey, do this research on whatever and give us your discovery, and then we're going to use it for the podcast. And then they'd get that and they'd go, well, hey, could you make it a little more conversational? Could you make it fun? So you tweak it a little bit, and they're like, well, can you just write a script? And then you just realize, oh, and you check out the show and you're like, okay, this person has no opinion of their own, and they're basically reading a script. It's a face, of a brand. And that's what's going on. People are finding ways to monetize, and they're not necessarily the best people to lead our space. It's really sad, but we're going to get there. I think as more people come in, we're going to mature. Like things I'm doing, I'm wanting to mature the audience along. Like people have been in crypto for a couple of years or so. You're looking for something more probably if you're going to read an article. And then there, of course, are people that want to learn something new. And I'm trying to figure out how to create a hybrid where there's some things to be learned, and at the same time, a real crypto native is going to read it. Like when we read trade publications, we want to feel like those writers know as much as we do, or I'm learning something more. And I feel like the reporting has been really flat like that. It's telling you what happened, but it's not adding context. It's not giving you anything more. And that's what I want to do.
I don't think my mic is working. Alex. Okay, do we have more questions, guys? Yes?
John of Tezos.
Oh, sorry. I thought you already had a question. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, appreciate you. So meme season is in full effect right now. And you're right. And how do you feel about that, like kind of controlling the narrative as of late, and kind of dictating how people perceiving crypto?
I mean, I love what's going on. Like, even though I complain a lot, I think it's my job to like poke holes at everything, but I love it. Like, there's excitement, right? And everything was really down, everything was slowing down. Crypto was going down. People weren't selling NFTs. It was getting really, and then you're looking at Twitter and the sentiment. The overall, there's never been a sentiment meter for Twitter or for an account, but I can guarantee you that sentiment was just going down. It goes back to what you were saying, too much bad press, right? So when people are winning, somebody somewhere, but really also like little people, so to speak, hey, I bought a little bit of this coin and now I have, $5,000, $10,000. I think it's all really good. The confusing part is people that don't understand the context, they just dive in and they lose. But I don't know if there's any way around that, because everybody's coming here looking to make it big. We see it all the time. In 2021, there are people in clubhouse rooms that I know that became millionaires, like legit millionaires. We all know these people. And so we're all wondering, well, how is it going to be me, or what am I going to be able to do to achieve that? And everybody's not going to get there. But the idea that people that are so close in proximity to us, our 6 degrees, are getting there, it's giving us a frenzy, like, okay, I need to dive into pretty much everything to make sure I don't miss anything. I remember when the Bored Apes came out, I remember going into Clubhouse and everybody was talking about the Bored Apes, and they were going in rooms making ape sounds, and
They did it,
it
to
was
my
unreal.
room. They did it to my show on Clubhouse. They took over my show, and I thought I was being trolled because I heard about people doing that, like taking over. One gets modded, then they bring everybody else up, and then they shut the room down. So I thought that's what was happening. So I like shooed them out. and then I had no idea, and like I didn't really look into it much further because I was mid-show, and then months later I found out what they are. And
I'm like you. I was a little annoyed by them, so I didn't buy an NFT.
I know.
They were 0.08 if I recall.
I've had so many sleepless nights over this.
So when that happens to you as well, you're like, well, damn, another one's going to come along, but you're also killing yourself that you didn't buy that one. So everybody's like living in part regret and part like, what's next? Let me, look around. And yeah, that environment, I think it's good, but it's also, it's really treacherous, man. But I'm happy for all of it. Like, we just need activity. We need people talking about stuff.
Yeah, I haven't seen people as excited as they are over Pepe in a long time. Yeah. I definitely aped in. You had a question, John? Question?
Hey, man. Awesome answers. Just thank you so much for being here today. So one thing that I'm particularly obsessed with is chain architecture and actual benchmarking. Because, you ask someone like, how many TPS does their favorite chain have, right? They can't even answer that question, right? And it's hard to find these answers on Google a lot of times. And there's no central place where you can be like, okay, Cardano, or Tezos in my case, right? Or Ethereum, like how many TPS does it have? Like what is its capabilities? How is it built? What is the philosophy of why did they choose the programming language that they did to build this chain, right? Like it would be amazing to have a central place. And I'm just wondering if the Daily Degen might have any interest in doing something like that.
I could find out. I think what the Daily Degen wants to do is, it's in the name, right? You get up every day and you're in this life and you're in this culture, and it should be a place or a resource, right? So I'd be open to talking about it and pitching it. It's not a big infrastructure there, even though the reach is tremendous. And so, the ability to maybe get something done by really bringing something that makes sense, it's really there. Like, I'm really looking forward to like creating a lot of things. Like, I have this idea called 6 Degrees of Web3. I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. 6 Degrees of Web3. So imagine people being featured like a little profile, and as each new person is added, you're able to trace who they know through the other people. So eventually you end up with this huge network of people that can figure out who's between, how many degrees of separation they are between another person in Web3, and actually have some type of an app or technology that uses an algorithm that can actually introduce you to people who you don't know, who may think and build like you, or maybe they're a coder like you, or maybe they love cats like you. Like, it's time to take the data that we have and actually use it to our advantage, and actually use it to make people have stronger relationships. And so I think the way that I'm going to do it is like just starting with like photography and features, and then figuring out how I'll come up with some type of something you'll fill out. So through that, there'll be data. And maybe if it can even be built to a point where AI is involved, where maybe you're just talking answers and it can draw this stuff in. And then through that, it's finding your touch points, and then it's connecting you with other people in Web3. Because again, we have a real problem with like growing the community stronger, but also growing relationships and people in it. We're seeing so many fallouts. I remember in Clubhouse, people used to be in a room. Oh, I'm John. Oh, I'm Dave. Oh, you like whatever, so do I. Well, let's do a project. And that was it.
No due diligence, no background.
And then months later, the thing, crashes and burns, and they're enemies, and nobody understands why. And it's because there wasn't enough profound connection there. But if our space is going to grow and we're going to build things that we really want to build, it's the way. Yeah. So please come talk to me about it. Like hit me up and give me sort of like a overview of how that would look and work, and I'll definitely take it to him.
Alrighty, thank you
that,
so much.
magic.
Okay, I think, do we have more questions or we don't? If we don't, guys, I would love to say thank you so much for our speakers. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Skidrow Crypto. I think we've learned something. And, now the most important part is our networking part.